Hey, good morning, gamers. Welcome, I messed that up. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30 plus year video game vet, I guess, in terms of playing video games. But yeah, this morning we're going to go through the latest news. It's not too much crazy stuff. I might have some commentary on some of the latest news that's been coming out this week. I think the biggest thing being all the hardware stuff. We have a Sony State of Play today, and we also have a Sonic Central event where I'm excited about that. I'm curious to see what new Sonic stuff. I mean, I know we have that Sonic X Generations, which I'll play that. I liked Sonic Generations. I'm just hoping they can somehow figure out maybe how to port the 3DS Sonic Generations because those had exclusive levels of music. Anyway, yeah, I won't be that. I think that's later today. That might be like 11 or 12. And then the State of Play is even later. That one, maybe I'll live stream if nothing's going on and I'm just sitting here. So those are the main things. Morning, Ultronymous. Morning, Jim Killex. Good to see you guys. All right. We're added to the new game, Jim Killex. That is a good idea. So it reminds me of the Sonic Origins because when Sonic Origins came out, of course, I bought it, played through them all. Didn't get all the achievements, but I liked that package. But then they added that DLC later that was the Game Gear games, I think. It was something like that. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I keep forgetting I have that Sonic Origins. I need to just have it like installed at all times. But anyway, let's start with what I've been playing. I'm going to share my screen here. And actually, I didn't play too much yesterday. Yeah. Not that this, this is typically because I didn't play Outlaws yesterday, so I wouldn't have to worry about that not popping up here. But I just played Castlevania Dominus Collection. It's it was funny. I was going over my like Game of the Year contenders, nominees for this year, and it's like I hadn't played this one as much, but this is on there. I played Haunted Castle Revisited. I have a live stream of that, playing through the whole game and doing a little commentary, talking about the music. But right now I'm playing Dawn of Sorrow because that's the longest I've played one. I'm really bad sometimes at words, but Dawn of Sorrow is the one I haven't played the longest out of all of them, which is nuts. And I wanted to show you guys this, so I brought this up on purpose. This year I've played so many Castlevania games. I mean, I was doing it last year too. Hey, howdy, Chris. Good to see you. But what's funny is it's because of like that retro, using RetroArch, retro achievements, being able to log my game time, right? So unfortunately, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, when I was playing it on the DS, doesn't log the game time. So what I want to try to do is get an average because I think I played through Portrait of Ruin twice. Get the average of a playthrough times 2, Dominus Collection, 34 hours of Castlevania Requiem, Symphony of the Night, Rondo of Blood. Let's see. Where were some others? Yeah, Aria of Sorrow, I played through twice. Harmony of Dissonance, I played through 3 times. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to is by the end of the year, I want to log how out of all games, what I played the most, and it could be that I played Castlevania games the most, but it is kind of interesting sometimes when you look at these hours or time spent in a retro game versus a modern game, and you realize you really just spend so much more time in a modern game. Like, I feel like I've gotten so much out of this Castlevania Dominus Collection, and I've only played 4 hours. Astrobot, I've played 15 hours. So it's amazing how that works. Do I have another like retro style game down here somewhere? Let's see. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, 2 hours. That's another good example. It's funny. Metal Slug Awakening, 18 hours. I hadn't played it since August. I got my fill. If that's a free to play game, and I think I paid like maybe $5 of my own money in it, I got my time, my value out of that game. That's pretty insane. Let's see. Okay, yeah, not too much more on there, but yeah, anyway, just Castlevania Dominus Collection. It's one of those two where you don't really see it being talked about, hear about it being talked about. even though I think it probably is successful. I just remember it's just funny. I feel like the release of Castlevania Dominus Collection is a shift in time frame of video games, especially for me, because how long have people been wanting to replay this DS collection? But like we knew, without a DS that Nintendo has, they're not going to re-release. How are they going to do it? And Konami did it, and people have been asking for it. Now it's here. It's like Konami has made it now where you can play all your Castlevania games. I think that's pretty amazing. That's all I was really playing. Yesterday I did a live stream on the Gundam Explained where I was doing a quick unboxing of this action figure. It's pretty cool. And then I was doing some talking with people. So I think that was really what I spent most of the time doing. Let's jump into the Gaming Leaks and Rumors Reddit. Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dust Golem, indicates that RE9 is not to be revealed at the State of Play tomorrow. And as I've heard, the State of Play might be smaller titles. So if you guys hadn't heard, and I probably don't need to share a screen on that, a video went up on GameSpot yesterday of the Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge adding Gecko Mondo and another character that's a lizard, and I forget her name. I think it's a female character. And a remix of music. They're all adding this. It's a free update for Shredder's Revenge, which is awesome because I got that Last Dimension DLC with the survival, and I didn't play it too much, although it was pretty fun. It's making me want to go back to that. But anyway, the trailer said available now. This was yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like loading up my Xbox, Game Pass app or whatever. And then I read in the forums like, oh, I think this got leaked early, or not leaked, but released early. So I think it's during the State of Play today that they're going to announce this Shredder's Revenge DLC, and then it's going to drop. So I'm actually going to do that today. That will be fun. So that back to the State of Play stuff. I guess it's subjective too, because something like for me, that Ninja Turtle thing is pretty big in terms of types of games I like to play, but to other people it might not be that big. So that's why Resident Evil 9 probably not, the Kojima game probably not. But was there something else about that? No. Really excited to see what they're going to do with RE9, because I really feel like between 7 and 8, they made different types of games, even though at their core it was Resident Evil, and I haven't even beat 8. But what are they going to do? Because I like that in 8 they like added. Didn't they do like the first person and third person mode? I like they're given option and choices. So curious what they're going to do with this new one, or if they're going to make it play like a Resident Evil 4 remake, where they're just going to double down on that engine. I don't know. Capcom usually knows what they're doing. Like, and I don't know if I mentioned it here, but there's that update for Dragon's Dogma 2 that adds a casual mode. And it's a really good idea the way they went about it, because it's more of like things are just cheaper. It's easier to fast travel. You don't have as much encumbrance when it comes to gear you're carrying. The weight, you don't have to worry about it as much. So they're smart with adding things, especially after the fact, they make the game a little more accessible. All right. Yeah, State of Play will be later. Yeah, look at that. Not much more news. Because I don't think there is much news. And there was this new device filed with the FCC by Nintendo, and it doesn't look like it's much. It's like a little block and it shows where like the FCC ID number would be. So you can see that it's kind of like this size. It might not be anything related to the Switch, but it has some wireless radio stuff, but it's very specific. So it's almost like it would interface specifically, like maybe I'm just going to throw something out there that the Switch 2 is going to use the dock as a way to wirelessly transfer the display to like your TV. So let's say you're holding the Switch 2 and there's maybe dual screen function. I think we've talked about this before, where it's just going to communicate to the dock to send the signal. I think this device here could be a booster, a transmitter, or something for another television. So let's say that you have the dock, but then you can buy this little wireless thing that then you can maybe have in another room on hooked up to a TV or something, and or transmits to a TV and it picks up the signal. I'm just guessing. I'm just trying to think what's some cool ways Nintendo would want to innovate their hardware, especially around wireless, and it's not a wearable. Because my thought was the glasses. That's been a rumor where they're gonna have some AR glasses, which I still think is. I could see Nintendo having Nintendo branded toyetic glasses you wear, so that when people are doing multiplayer, they are only seeing their screen or they're projecting somewhere. We'll see. But that's about it. Yeah. So it wasn't too crazy with and I think because leading up to the state of play, that all a bunch of news is going to drop today. Sonic Central, state of play. So then, yeah, let's real quick, go to the news. See what's going on. Okay, Level 5 announces Ghostcraft RPG. Interesting. It's funny. I'm getting Luigi's Mansion vibes. Okay. Yeah, Holy Horror Mansion. There must be something with that. And it's level 5. Don't they do stuff for Nintendo? Let's see. There's that. Let's see. Megaton Musashi. Okay. So I've seen this around this game, and it looks good, but the reviews do say it's super repetitive. Let's see. Now this says it came out in 2021. So I could be thinking of something else, but this could be it. It just, I don't know. It says 5 months ago, is now out. But I just wanted to show off what I saw from the screens real quick. So it might be hard to see on here, but like the idea of like the hangar here where you're potentially like upgrading, customizing your mech. I love seeing screenshots that look like it's in an open world field, like like Breath of the Wild or something, and then there's a bunch of action going on. Like, on the surface, this looks really cool. So I don't know. I haven't played it, but it's like there's so many games I'd like to play because there's that other one, Bakaru, or something like that. That's on Switch and Steam. It's like the Goemon games on N64. All right, no time to relax. Dev Porcelain Fortress raised $3 million. Good for them. I remember hearing about this. Never played it. The Deca Police, level 5. Oh, level 5's got a bunch of news, don't they? How Brazil's new legal framework for games will change the industry. During the opening session of Gamescom Latam, Carolina Caravana, vice president of Brazilian games trade body Abragrames, said the history of the nation's games industry would now be split into two periods, before and after 2024. That's very interesting because, the history of Brazil and video games is very interesting just because of the way, I guess, the importing there is like way too expensive. People weren't really playing games that much, but there was this like underground market where so if you're at a tech toy, it's kind of like where they were licensing the Sega Master System pretty much, and they were just continuing to make games. And so there was this whole other like branch of evolution in video games that only existed in Brazil, where you had like Duke Nukem on a Sega Genesis, stuff like that. It's very interesting. And when I was there in the mid 2000s, I was in the underground like markets in the main city, São Paulo, and there would be like booths going forever of people selling pirated games, and pirated just because it would just be hard to get games in general in Brazil. If someone wanted to be able to try or play a game, usually you couldn't. You'd have to get it. So I got a bunch when I was there. It was really fun, and it was more of, not that I needed to pirate games, but just more of it was like a fun thing to see. And again, it's like it's hard. It's almost wrong to say like pirate games. It's almost like it's its own gaming economy and subculture, because people are willing to pay a decent price for these people to be able to get the games to them. I remember specifically, I was with someone that bought the PS2 Mortal Kombat. Oh, what was that game where I think you were like Shao Kahn, Liu Kang or something? Or no, 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 not Shao Kahn. I forget. I forget the characters' names. But anyway, it was that brawler on the PS2. Um, that just kind of a cool memory there. Jim Killex, Megatime Musashi W is apparently really fun, but the lack of advertising is slowing its potential growth. Okay, so I'm glad to hear you're saying, because you tend to know about these games, and yeah, it looks fun. Everything I looked at, it looked fun. It's just, you don't hear about it. No advertising. Chris Shaolin Monks, Autonomous Shaolin Monks. Thank you. That was exactly it. Anyway, yeah. So let's look at this real quick, because I think anything that can happen just to make games more accessible is better for the games. We're going to get more developers out of that, indie developers. So during the opening session, yeah, I already read that. The turning point, the adoption of new legal framework in May that redefines video games in the eyes of the law opens up new incentives for games companies and creates additional opportunities for investment, among other things. Dry as a new legal framework might sound, the excitement for its impact on the local games industry is palpable when you speak to Brazilian developers with the term game changer used frequently. We're calling it phase 2 of the Brazilian games industry, says Abra Games president Rodrigo Terra. We've had the boss fight. Now we have the next level. Oh, that's cool. Hero Silva of Trade Body Apex Brazil adds, this legal framework opens new perspectives when you try to be a safe place for companies, for the government to understand what the gaming industry is, and a safe place for investors to come to Brazil. This kind of legal framework is trying to dismiss misunderstandings of what gaming companies are or what bad companies are. Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to what I was talking about before, where it would be way too expensive to import. And so there's this big like pirating thing, but even that wasn't a big deal there, because it wasn't like there was a games industry there. So the pirating wasn't a big deal. It was just a normal part of, this is how we get our stuff. So yeah, that's good to hear. That is good to hear. It's funny. The first time I went there, I I pretty much paid for the ticket by buying stuff and selling games and consoles there, for people that would get it when I would get there. I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was still cheaper for them. It was the only way for them to get it, All right, a film production company named Stellar Blade is suing PlayStation over Stellar Blade. Come on. I haven't even heard of you. Now that's how people know of you. Although I can't wait to play Stellar Blade. Like I've played the demo. It's fun. I would just say that demo compared to the games I then decided to purchase or play are more fun, but I want to get back to Stellar Blade. Let's see. Behavior. Well, I think a good example is like Wukong. Wukong is, there's something about Wukong. It's just a tighter experience, and Stellar Blade, it really has a lot going on. It does a lot of tropey, video gamey stuff. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's just that's what drew me more to Wukong at the time. Let's see. Behavior and Red Hook. Who knows? I heard something else, actually. Let me look this up. That I think this is interesting news. Okay. Predator Hunting Grounds for PS5, Xbox Series X launches October 1st. And you're like, what? This game's already been out. I know, right? So this is really cool. So Predator Hunting Grounds is like that asymmetrical multiplayer Predator game that's actually really well done. It just seems a little janky, but I think that's just because of the budget they work with. I got it and I played it a lot, actually. I think it was PS4 because it was a Sony exclusive. And then I guess as soon as the exclusivity ran out, not only are they putting it on Xbox, or it was on PC, now they're putting it on Xbox, but they're also essentially upgrading it for PS5 and Xbox Series. So I got to say that is really awesome, because this is an old game, but it's keeping the Predator franchise alive, and it is cool. I could see myself getting back into this. I had a lot of fun. There is a video on my channel here on Blue Gamer of me playing, and actually, I could probably search for it really easily. Because I had a lot of fun when it came out. Like it was way more fun than I expected it to be. And it's like, I wanted it to continue. And the fact that they are, okay, where is it? Let me share. Does it share? Yeah, so this is using that Alpha Predator, and I even have the action figure of it because I think it was like I think if you bought the figure, you got a code or something like that. Anyway, this was one where it was just me, and I think in 3 minutes, I like took everyone out. Not that I'm like awesome at it. In fact, this is a really hard game, but I just saved this specifically because I actually had a good run. And it is just so fun running around, surprising the humans and take them out, pulling out their skulls. Look at that. This is a fun game. Who else is playing this in here? I bet Ultronomus is, because I might want to put something together to play this. Yeah, I'm going to get back to this. So basically, what I am interested in is what are some of the updates that are going to happen, because it looks like they're coming out with the different editions. Okay, so yeah, it first launched. Oh, so it did say it was on PC also and PlayStation 4 when it first came out. 2021. So think of how many years later, and they're still supporting this. I love that stuff. Anyway, yeah. Autonomous saying I can get back into hopefully it gets crossplay, increases the player base. Okay, yeah, crossplay. Good question. Predator Hunting Grounds crossplay. Let's see. Yeah. I think it does. Yeah, I guess so. It's if it has Steam and Xbox. Let's see. Those PlayStation or 1 or 2 Steam players. I haven't seen Epic yet. Wow. So apparently, at least between PlayStation and Steam, there's crossplay. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay. God of War Ragnarok mod removes PSN requirement from PC versions. Yeah, for those that don't know, like God of War Ragnarok came out on PC, and like I kind of don't care, and I almost feel bad because this is like a main PlayStation title. I just did not like that first one, and it could be because I'm a big fan of the original God of War games. So when I play this, it's like, oh, it's no longer that style of action game. Now it's just trying another style of action game, which is done better in other games. It's like, but I think they're trying to like just very cinematic and serious, dramatic God of War. And again, I hate to sound like I'm hating on it, but the Ragnarok, just got on PC, but it did that PSN thing, which to be honest, I think it's fair if Sony's asking you to sign into PSN. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's a big deal. I'm already signing into my email that I can access by signing into my internet provider that is separate from the provider I sign into on my phone to view content. So, if there's another thing to sign into, oh well. But I would be interested to see how this runs on my PC, but I don't know. I think the other problem. Oh, why is there a mod? Just because people didn't want to have to sign into PSN. Yeah, I mean, it's how it works. Like even with Ubisoft, and then you got your Ubisoft thing. But it's at the end of the day, these things aren't too big of a deal. I think some people don't want to have to keep track of all that stuff. But anyway, the one complaint I hear about this Ragnarok is just bloated. It has so much that it's doing. Like the game just goes on and on and on, and sometimes games stay longer than they need to. I feel like I'm too hard on these newer God of Wars, but it's like let me kind of frame it differently. You see where Sony is now, where they're kind of in trouble. They don't know what to do. They don't know what kind of games to make. It's because they took all their IPs into this prestige direction and then live service, and then like totally forgot what they've done before. And if you play the new Astrobot and you start unlocking all the bots and see, you're like, wait a minute, there's something PlayStation used to do that they're just not doing anymore. And that is just having smaller, fun, unique titles. I've complained about this a whole lot, but to me, the new God of War Ragnarok almost is like a video game form of the problem of PlayStation. So hopefully they Hopefully they figure that out. Actually, what I would really love is if they did like a remake of the first God of War game, kept that perspective, that type of combat, and just gave it the Astrobot treatment in terms of graphics, fidelity, effects, particles, clarity, certain moments with the controller. Yeah, that's what they should do. I mean, Sony is in remake mode right now. They're remaking everything, even or remastering. And it's funny because Hollywood is doing the same thing. It's a very interesting time where I think both Hollywood and the video games industry are like, okay, we're not making money the traditional way we have been used to making money. I think it's easier and quicker to just remaster, remake something, spit it out there. And hey, if that's what they have to do for now to keep themselves afloat, that's fine. JMK Alex, it got worse when PlayStation HQ got moved to LA. Yeah, I do think that is related. And Chris, I don't think anyone knows where to go. The internet as a whole keeps on changing their minds. Exactly. I think that is a really good point because these executives are spending too much time on what people are saying on the internet instead of just developing a core game. Remastering started with the 360 PS3 era. Yeah, it did. And then it just ramped up. And it's funny because I feel like there's lulls where then it's like, okay, here's a bunch of remasters and then we're back. But again, I'm not necessarily against remasters, but sometimes they're used as a crutch, like The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2. I think there's a remastered and all that, right? But sometimes games use it. Like, for instance, did Dead Rising need this remaster? They just had that other version in 2017. They probably needed it to be more of a remake, changing some aspects of it. I don't know. Yeah, some games do need it, but yeah, far too liberal with it now. A good example of a remaster, I don't know if this is a remaster, more of a re-release, but kind of the same thing is that Castlevania DS collection, because what they did was, oh, I just messed everything up. They modernized it to then be able to run on modern hardware, and that's kind of like I think the intent with these remasters is it's not like The Last of Us needed a remaster, but they know people would buy it. But a game that could use a remaster, I would say, like, for instance, that Space Marine. So Space Marine 2 just came out and it's doing very well. They could remaster that first one because I even went back to it recently. And while it's still fun, it's almost like it was right at that cusp of that 360 era where it's almost more of a modern game, but it still retains some of those tropey 360 PS3 era stuff. And they could remaster that like in a year to be like, okay, you guys have played Space Marine 2 for a while. We're working on the third one. Here's a remaster of the first. Yeah, and if they remastered it with the new engine, that's how you go about it. It's like, oh, what are some things we could do? What would be interesting, and I'm actually not saying they should do this, is if they remade the first God of War in the new God of War engine with that perspective. Not that I really want that, but I think that's a neat way to go about it. I think the first Space Marine is stranded content. What do you mean by that? Because it's just so old, and it's not really old, but it's kind of there. And then the North American HQ did move to California, like how Nintendo of America is in Washington. Let's see. I mean, okay, I hate it when this thing pops out, and I don't. Okay, there we go. So I'm gonna go. Oh, Terry Bogard is now available in Street Fighter 6. So I got Street Fighter 6 recently. I have no idea what to do. I loaded in. There's like 3 things to choose from. Then there's like I'm in an arcade, and then I sat in an arcade to like play against someone, and nothing's happening. I must be dumb. I have no idea what to do in Street Fighter 6. Don't Nod is refocusing on wider audiences after Jusant failed to meet expectations. So interesting to me, Jusant seemed like it would be a wide audience game, but you know what? There was a sort of a Jusant in a way built into Fortnite that people could just play. I mean, I remember seeing my son play that. So I think I wonder if that took some of that because Jusant seemed like it would be more of a wide release game. Jusant's kind of like a vertical You're just constantly climbing up. It's a platformer. But I yeah, and the only now I'm thinking about it, the only reason I really heard about this is it has to do with some of the more obscure podcasts I listen to or follow. And not obscure, just people where they talk about that sort of stuff. Um, it's very interesting. It's sad to hear that. They need to refocus on wider audiences, but there's nothing wrong with that too, in terms of let's focus on a wide audience, but how can we still make unique gameplay in that realm? And hopefully then that gives them the capital they need to go back to making these more unique experiences. Halo Infinite co-developer Skybox Labs is making 25 people redundant. Oh, well, I don't know why. Why does that have to be news? Oh, so don't not even paused 2 projects they're working on. So they were working on 2 projects they probably didn't even think was. Wow, is it already 8:31? I've just been sitting here talking. Let's see. Anything else? You know, I'm really interested in. Ooh, that looks cool. Okay. Dramatic roguelike action game Steel Knights, Armis, Awakening of Survival. Okay, you could have stopped at Steel Knights and I was in. Let's look at this. I love the art that I'm already seeing. Developers Forces, Tatsumaki Games, and Frantic have announced dramatic roguelike action game Steel Knights, Armis Awakening of Survivor for PC. It will launch in 2025. It will also be playable at the Tokyo Game Show from the 26th to 29th. So that will be cool. Is there any... Okay, there's a little announcement trailer here. Okay, so that looked cool. It looks almost... Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's not zoomed in, it's pulled out, kind of looks like almost like a traditional shmup slash like maybe twin stick shooter. Okay, so kind of like classic arcade action. Okay, survival. I'm seeing it now. And you see the cards come up where you could choose. Oh, that was Timothy Chalamet, wasn't that? Yeah. Seriously. They just went into the AI and said, "Hey, we want Timothy Chalamet." Okay. Okay, so this is a survival game that has a really cool perspective and art style. I would totally play this. Very neat. So there's that. Steel Knights, Armis. It sounds like Armis is what they're wanting to. It's just like if it said Mobile Suit Gundam. I don't know. Yeah, Japan loves their extended game names, but it's funny because it also is describing in detail what the game is or what the property is. That's kind of an interesting thing there. All right, well, that was about it. I don't think there was too much interesting stuff because I think all the interesting stuff is going to happen later. I would love to try to live stream, most likely maybe the PlayStation one, not the Sonic one, because the Sonic one I think is while I'm at work. Hey, California. So I think the PlayStation one happens like right when Wonka Atreides is a mech pilot. Yeah, that's funny. I think I should be done with work by the time the PlayStation State of Play starts, and I might live stream that because I'm excited. I like the little titles, So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I had a lot of fun. We'll talk later.